Hello everyone. One good morning to all of you. Would like to welcome to our this session on global commons and the idea of environmental sustainability in the academic discourse of international relations. So, in this session, we will deep into the concept of global commons, then the significance and importance of it for preserving uh, environment and climate prevention of the climate change. Then we will also discuss about the idea of or theorizing the context of global commons. Then what are the challenges to protection of the global commons. Then we will also highlights the different international laws, treaties, and organization for protecting these global commons. Then we will also explore the idea of future perspectives and what may be the challenges for the global commons. So these are the overall understandings, and in this lectures, these different aspect will be highlighted by me. So first and foremost, let's see the like what do you mean by the concept of global commons. So global commons has two perspective to understand. The first one is the geopolitical, and the second one is the economic. So global commons refers to the shared resources that is not a individual ownerships. No one has individual ownerships, and it is something beyond the national territory or jurisdictions. That is your geopolitical perspectives on global commons. So in economic perspectives, on other hand, it talks about that a shared resources used by some at expense of others, which led to non-available of the resources for others. That is known as your economic perspectives on global commons. So these two perspectives help us to understand the international interest in preserving these global commons, and also highlights what are the different challenges towards this global commons. So let us discuss the importance of global commons. Why this is important for us? So the first thing is that it helps the world populations in many ways. Say for example, in world 65% of land are classified as your global commons, and that contributes for soil fertility, food security, climate regulation, and different things. And in the form of the forest land, it reserve the carbons, or the carbon storage can be found in the forest lands. More than 2 lakh 93,000 billion of metric ton carbon are stored in form of carbon storage in the forest lands. So in Indian context, 77% of livestock are dependent on the grazing land, and it constitutes 15 to 25% of total geographical area of India, in which it helps to generate the 5 billion tons, the $5 billion for the poor people of India. How it generate? Because these 15 to 25% of common lands help to generate 53% of milk and 74% of meat requirements of India. So therefore, to preserve the global commons is must require, and it helps for food security, it helps for livelihood, it helps for reducing the climate change and different things. In addition to that, as we all know, that global commons means that beyond the national jurisdiction or beyond the national territory, which include high sea, which includes the outer space, which include Antarctica, which even includes atmosphere, then your like tropical rainforest and so on. So, how the high sea helps for the preservation of or the livelihood and so on? Because high sea is that area uh, which talks about the beyond national jurisdictions or beyond the your uh, exclusive economic zones, right? And it helps to understand the global climate regulation, the marine biodiversity. Then if you talk about atmosphere also helps to essential for climate regulation, life support and air quality. In similar way, Antarctica also helps to provide a space for scientific research for we can say that it is dedicated to the peace and also offering invaluable insights into climate change and earth science. Then if I talk about outer space also helps to understand the celestial body or the orbit that round around earth, okay, the orbital environments around the earth, so which helps for communication, navigation and scientific explorations. Similarly, biodiversity also helps to understand the variety of ecosystem, and these all things talks about the indispensable for global sustainability. So this is the significance of your global commons. Then if I talk about the understanding or theorizing the global commons, then as we all know that the common shared resource is considered as global commons. So in 1998, Susan J. Bach, in her book Global Commons and Introduction, explore two main concepts with special reference to the idea global commons, which include the low exclusions and high subtractability. So, my dear friend, low exclusions refers to that use of resource by the individuals in a limited way, use of resource by the individual in a limited way, and high subtractability on other hands talks about use of resource by some individuals which led to the no longer of available of that resource for others, or in a way that use of resource in excessive manners led to the deprivation of resource for the others. So that is how the concept of low exclusion and high subtractability. You can take an example here. When we use or we consume some resource which led to deplete of that resource for our future generations, right? So this is one kind of example, we can say that high subtractability. Then after the understanding of global commons, let's see the what are challenges to the protecting these global commons. So there are number of challenges before or in protecting the global commons. The first one is the tragedy of the commons. So the tragedy of the commons concept is developed by biologist Garrett Hardin in 1968, in which he argued that the self-interest or self-centric interest of individual overusing or consuming the common shared resources can the uh, deplete the or spoil the shared resource, or it also detriment to everyone's long term based interest. So my dear friend, take an example. In village there is a common lands or grazing lands in which all villagers send their many villagers send their cow or goats for the grazing, but no one is caring about the sustainable preservation of the common lands. In sometimes it will it can lead to deplete of the said resource. It can also, we can say that, the diminish of the said resource. So because of no one is owner of that land, it led to a kind of a tragedy of the commons. Another example in that context we can take when we talk about fishing. Different fisher community try to catch the fish, or the overfishing led to reduce in stock of the fish, or also provide a threat to the marine environment. So as this oceans after the exclusive economic zones, beyond exclusive economic zones is no one owner of that. So due to that commons, or due to that uh, common shared identity, or we can say that overfishing is led to the tragedy of the commons. So this is the one kind of we can say that the challenges in protecting the global commons. Then another one is the jurisdictional issues or territorial issues. As we all know, there are different shared entity or the commons or the resources which is like no one is owner of this, and making a universal law, making a regulations to follow it's a difficult task. So say for example, we have seen different things in our near past. For example, zoonotic disease like COVID-19, greenhouse gas, reduction in biodiversity. So these are your what the global common issues. But there is no as such universal law which will or which may uh, may bound to the individual nation states to follow or to protect the or to face these challenges. So say for example, when there was a COVID-19 pandemics, like there was no such law or regulation to uh, to like we can say that prevent the COVID-19 pandemic entering into the your territory or the your countries. So these are the challenges, or these are the issues, complicated issues, which shows that the unavailability of law and regulations are also discuss the challenges which is need to discuss here. Then uh, if I talk about to tackling the challenge, a coordination and cooperations among nations are crucial. But to achieve that consensus and collective actions, it's a very hard, and it's a very difficult, or we can say that remain an ongoing challenges. Then look at the environmental degradations. There are different activity which led to the environmental degradations. For example, pollution. For example, overfishing. For example, economic. We can say that industrials as well, right? Then climate change. The industry. The pollution from the industrial activity, the pollution from the contaminated agriculture activity, uh, affect our air quality, impact the marine and terrestrial ecosystems. So according to we can say that convention of biological diversity, 60% of these resources are depleting, or like we can say that also affect our biodiversity. Then overfishing depletes the stock fish, also affects the food webs or marine environment. Okay. Then climate change is one of the universal phenomena which is faced by every country, whether you talk about developed, developing, or underdeveloped. No one country, there is no one country that can deny that they are not facing any kind of climate challenge. So climate challenge also exacerbate this issue by altering the temperatures, by like we can say that changing the air or weather pattern. Then also it affect the habitats, or coral bleachings, and more frequent extreme weather events also for like further degrade the global commons. Then economic pressures. Another challenge is economic pressure. Economic pressure in the sense that nowadays different or many nation states or multinational companies, in the name of economic growth, they are exploiting, they are we can say that consuming or uh, doing the different activities for the economic growth. For example, mining. For example, we can say that the cutting of the forest in the name of industrializations or economic or urbanizations. So in a way they generate the like GDP, in a way they also reduce the poverty, but at the same time they also provide a threats to the global commons, they degrade the environment. So that is how the factors for like in protecting the global commons. Okay. Then next one is we will discuss about if there is a problems, if there is a challenges, if there is a we can say that threat in protecting global commons, then there may be or there must be some laws, regulation, and we can say that organization. What are that laws, what are the regulation, what are the organization? So there are some laws, say for example uh, United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea 1987, which talks about the regulate ocean use and seeks to preserve the marine environment for their sustainable management. Then the Antarctic Treaty of 1959. It promotes a kind of scientific research. It also prohibiting the military activities and promoting international cooperation for research and environmental protection in the regions. Then Outer Space Treaty 1967, which not allow the placement of weapons in the space. Okay. And also promotes the peaceful use of we can say that celestial bodies, right? Then your Montreal Protocol of 1987, which talks about protection of stratospheric ozone layer and phasing out the ozone depleting substance. Then in addition to that, there are a number of international organizations which are working on behalf of the protection of global commons. Say for example, the concept of United Nations Environmental Program 1972, the idea of your international maritime organizations, right? Then your World Trade Organization also focus on the trade, but it also like emphasize on environmental issues and different thing. So we can say that therefore these organization laws and treaty contribute to the international cooperation or action for protection of global commons and preservation of planet's natural resources. Then after the challenge, after the laws and regulation, what should be or what would be the future perspectives and climate change? So climate change, the future perspective and challenges, we need to take a balanced approach here. Balanced approach in the sense we have to implement different laws regulation through our legislature, executive, and judiciary. At the same time, we have to also collaborate with the private like organizations, or I mean to say a public private partnership models can be helps to preserving these global commons or protecting our future planets. This is the first, like we can say that foremost thing we discuss. And in addition to that, that uh, we also need to support our self, like locality, or we have to promote the self governance, okay, in which they can also adopt some kind of practice, sustainable practice, by protecting the common lands or protecting the uh, global commons at the village levels, okay. So for that we need to implement or safeguard, or we have to prevent the or mitigate the risks, okay. And the rural urban communities should be empowered to govern their shared resources. Then there is a two approach which can helpful for preserving the global commons. The first one is the first one is, we can say that, reinforcing the global principle of commons. Then second one is your the creative destructions. What is creative destruction? The creative destruction, the concept is developed by Joseph Schumpeter, uh, in which basically he discussed that uh, that a continuous innovation mechanism can help to sustainable management in some extent by replacing the outdated like units, or we can say that outdated things, okay. So this approach is fundamental to capitalism and foster ongoing progress and adoption. So this creative destruction is a idea of we can say that, to under the capitalisms, and for talk about ongoing progress, okay, that replace the outdated or unuseful things or useless things uh, by the what, the continuous innovations units, okay. So that is the idea here. Then uh, there is another concept, that common heritage of mankind. So this common heritage of mankind, the concept is developed by diplomat Orbit Pardo, in which he talks about that we need to develop a kind of humankind attitudes, or a kind of heritage of humankind attitudes, in which it talks about that the resources is not meant for the present generation, but it also meant for the future generations, okay, right. So this is the idea of what, the common heritage of mankind. So in conclusions, at the last we can say that now partnerships and collaboration, coordination, consensus between the different nation states, between the different organizations, and with the help of a treaty laws, can help to preserve the global commons and for the sustainable environment for our planets. At the same time, it also talks about a holistic approach is required, which address socio-political and economic and environmental dimensions for safeguarding the global commons for future generations. So this is like the idea and understanding on global commons. So in global commons you can see also a kind of debate in the sense that between the north and the south. How the north and south? Because when the preservation or protection of the global commons came to picture, there is a kind of debate between the global south versus north south. Your north south claim that many developing countries are exploiting these global resources without taking any responsibilities, and they also argue that the developing country or the global south nowadays are doing a kind of emotional blackmail, because they don't develop in the past. That does not mean they will pollute the environment, or they will exploit or deplete the common resource at present times, in present time. At the same time, your Global South claim that these developed countries are responsible for the reduction in our biodiversity or the depletions in ozone layers and the pollutions and climate change. Global South also claim that we are historically deprived and we did not get any chance for our economic growth and development. Hence, we must provide the scope for our economic growth, for our development. So this is the main argument between our voices, the global south versus the global north. In addition to that, in 1997, in Kyoto Protocol, Japan, Rio de Janeiro, Kyoto Protocol, like the Kyoto city of the Japan, in which a concept was emerged and common but differentiated responsibility. That idea provides a scope for the developing country like India and China, that yes, there is some common responsibility that each and every countries, be it your developed or developing, will take the responsibility for protecting or addressing this common challenge. But at the same time, that responsibility is based on the different, in a different way or in a differentiated manners, in which the developed country are conditioned to take some higher amount of responsibility and also helping the developing country in form of financial package for their growth and development. So here we can see that the idea of your global commons are addressed by the Kyoto Protocol in 1997. However, many countries also criticize that why the developing countries, particularly China and India, are exempted from the Kyoto protocols or the responsibilities. So, in a way, for addressing this challenge, to come a consensus or collective actions became a difficult task at the world level, because this topic or this like activities itself is a contested one, and no one is willing to come forward voluntarily to address this challenge. That's why a holistic approach, or in a way equitable, or in a way we can say that a just and transparent solutions is required, which can address the need of the global south, at the same time also addressing the challenges and the different problems that are facing by the global commons. So this is the whole idea, that how the concept of global commons is becoming important in our academic discourse at international level, and it also discuss the debate between the global south and global north in protecting these global commons. So I hope I make some sense here, and if I have any doubt, then you can comment, and you can also ask me, then I will try to clarify your doubt. I hope this lecture will helpful to you, and if you like our effort, please subscribe, share and like our channels. Jai Jagannath.